She trusted his perfect answers until one tiny habit exposed everything, and suddenly every smile, pause, and excuse started feeling terrifyingly fake to her. Rain tapped softly against the apartment window, while the city lights flickered through the glass like blurry stars. The room felt warm, but something inside her didn't. He sat across from her on the gray couch, relaxed as always, one arm stretched over the cushion, fingers lightly tapping against his knee. The television played quietly in the background, but neither of them were really watching it. She looked down at the mug in her hands. The tea had already gone cold. "Long day?" she asked softly. For a moment, he paused. Not long enough for most people to notice. But she noticed. Then he smiled quickly. "Long day?" he repeated with a small laugh. Yeah, work was crazy." Something about the way he said it felt strange. Not wrong exactly, just practiced. He leaned forward and immediately started explaining everything. Traffic was terrible. A coworker showed up late. The coffee machine broke. Some customer complained for 20 minutes. The details kept going and going. She nodded slowly, pretending to listen, but deep inside, a quiet feeling started growing again. That same uncomfortable feeling she had been trying to ignore for weeks. Because honest conversations never felt this heavy before. Outside, thunder rolled softly through the dark sky. He kept talking. Every answer sounded polished, almost too smooth, like he had already rehearsed the conversation in his head before walking through the door. Then she noticed something else. His eye contact. He barely looked away. Most people naturally glance around while thinking, but he stared directly at her the entire time, almost like he was forcing himself not to break focus. It didn't feel natural. It felt controlled. She tried pushing the feeling away. Maybe she was overthinking. Maybe stress was making her paranoid. But later that night, another strange moment happened. She asked a simple question. "What time did you leave work?" Again, that tiny pause. Again, the repeated question. "What time did I leave work?" Then came another perfect answer. "Probably around 7:15, maybe 7:20. I remember because the guy outside the parking garage was arguing with someone about a red truck." Too many details. Nobody remembers random details like that unless they're trying very hard to sound believable. A cold feeling slowly moved through her chest. The apartment suddenly felt quieter. Even the rain outside sounded distant now. He smiled again, but this time she looked carefully. His mouth smiled. His eyes didn't. That scared her more than anything. Over the next few days, the small moments became impossible to ignore. Whenever she asked something unexpected, he touched his neck first. Sometimes he cleared his throat before answering. Sometimes his voice became slightly higher for one sentence before returning to normal. And every time she felt suspicious, he became calmer. Too calm. That was the strange part. Movies taught people that liars panic, but he never panicked. He looked relaxed, confident, comfortable, like someone who knew exactly how trustworthy he appeared. One evening, the power went out for a few seconds during a storm. The room went dark except for flashes of lightning outside the windows. For a second, she watched his face in silence. No smile, no expression, just emptiness. Then the lights returned, and instantly the smile came back. Perfect, friendly, controlled. A chill ran down her spine. That night, she lay awake listening to rain hit the roof, while memories replayed inside her mind. The delayed reactions, the repeated questions, the rehearsed answers, the fake warmth in his smile. Little pieces that meant nothing alone, but together felt terrifying. And for the first time, she stopped asking herself, "Is he lying?" Instead, a far more frightening question entered her mind. How long has this been happening? The next morning, the rain had stopped. Gray clouds still covered the sky, but sunlight slowly pushed through the windows of the apartment, filling the room with a pale golden light. Everything looked normal again. Too normal. He stood in the kitchen making coffee like nothing was wrong. Calm movements, relaxed shoulders, soft music playing from his phone. And somehow, that scared her even more. She watched him quietly from the hallway. How could someone look so peaceful while making another person feel completely lost inside? He turned and smiled the second he noticed her watching. "Morning," he said warmly. That smile again. Perfect. Carefully measured. Like an actor repeating the same scene too many times. She forced a small smile back and sat near the window while he poured coffee into 2 mugs. Steam rose slowly into the cold morning air. "You barely slept," he said. She looked at him carefully. Another test. "How do you know?" Again, the pause. Tiny. Almost invisible. But now she saw it every time. "You were moving around a lot," he answered smoothly. Then he immediately added more details. "You woke up around 2, then again around 4. I almost asked if you were okay." Too detailed. Always too detailed. Her stomach tightened. For days she had been collecting these moments in silence like tiny broken pieces of glass. Alone, each one seemed harmless. Together, they became impossible to ignore. And suddenly, she understood something painful. The problem wasn't just the lying. It was the performance. The constant acting. The rehearsed emotions. The carefully designed answers. Nothing felt real anymore. That evening, the city was covered in fog. Streetlights glowed softly outside the apartment building while distant traffic echoed through the wet streets below. He sat beside her on the couch, scrolling through his phone. Relaxed again. Confident again. She looked at the clock on the wall. 7:42 p.m. Then she asked quietly, "What time did you leave work yesterday?" "For the first time in weeks," he answered too quickly. "About 8. Silence. Just one word. No extra details this time. No polished explanation. And that was the moment everything changed. Because 2 nights earlier, he had said 7:15, not 8. A small difference. 15 minutes. Maybe most people would ignore it. But she couldn't. Because deep down, she already knew this wasn't about time anymore. It was about trust. His face stayed calm, but she noticed something new. His fingers stopped moving. His breathing became slower. Like his body suddenly realized something his smile was trying to hide. And for the first time, she stopped feeling confused. Instead, she felt clear. Painfully clear. The strange pauses. The repeated questions. The fake smiles that never touched his eyes. The stories overloaded with useless details. The unnatural eye contact. The delayed emotions. It all connected inside her mind at once. Like a puzzle finally forming a picture she never wanted to see. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't cry. That surprised her. Because she thought discovering the truth would destroy her. Instead, it woke her up. He looked at her carefully now. "You okay?" he asked softly. And suddenly, she noticed something almost unbelievable. Even that concern sounded rehearsed. For a long moment, she just stared at him. Then she gave a small nod. "Yeah," she whispered. But inside, something had changed forever. That night, while the city lights flickered outside the window, she realized the most dangerous people aren't always loud, angry, or obvious. Sometimes they're calm, charming, confident. Sometimes they smile perfectly, while slowly making you doubt your own instincts. And that's why people stay trapped for so long. Because the lie doesn't feel like fear at first. It feels like comfort. She looked out at the dark city one last time, and finally trusted the quiet voice she had been ignoring for months. The voice that kept whispering, "Something feels wrong." And maybe that's the real lesson. Your mind can be fooled by perfect words, but your instincts notice the truth long before your heart accepts it. If this story made you feel something, leave a like for more emotional psychology stories.